Welcome, everyone. This is Dr. Ramirez. This is going to be a short little presentation on different instructional models and their different classification systems. Hopefully, this isn't going to take a whole lot of time, but sometimes you might hear the doorbell or you might hear the washing machine or dryer. I'll try to avoid that just simply because I'm recording at home and using my computer to get this done. So, welcome, and this presentation is hopefully going to help you to identify ways that instructional models have been thought about and how classification systems have been developed to get them all organized. There's a very large body of scholarship in this area. So, what I'm going to try to do is provide you a generalization of that enormous amount of thought around the subject. First of all, let's think about the classification systems. And I think one of the ways that we need to look at it is that classification systems are, it's a human construction. There isn't anything there. So let's talk about some of that. To identify a system, this classification system, we need to demarcate where one system ends and another one begins. The reality is that it's difficult to separate instructional models and teaching methods. We are going to have a tough time. The discussion in this slide series intertwines both. We need to realize that when we try to classify instructional models, the classification system used is based on observation and experience of the scholar or the teacher. Each one of you has been involved in all of this. One of these ideas is that philosophical thought influences how individuals choose instructional models. Instructional models span the continuum from authoritarian to non-authoritarian models, and at the very end of the this slide presentation, I'm going to kind of just have a slide to go over that because I want for you to have that understanding. This is the same with teaching methods. In fact, we're influenced by how we believe what method works best uh, based on our philosophical beliefs. Furthermore, instructional models are linked to the teaching methods that are being used. In fact, in this course, I use the title of the course to include the words model and methods. However, there's a blur between the two items, or the two terms rather, in both instructional models and instructional teaching methods. And so we're all going to be looking at this a little bit more, and you're going to be talking about it in your discussion board. Anyway, the first thing that we want to do is to look at the terms instructional and teaching methods for the most part right now, as or use the terms instructional and teaching as being synonymous. Obviously, uh, everything's a personal thing. So Leslie Owen Wilson, used this idea. Simply put, models of teaching deal with the ways in which learning environments and instructional experiences can be constructed, sequenced, or delivered. That's certainly one of the problems that we're going to have because each one of us has a way of thinking about things. So let's look at teaching methods. And the first thing that I'm going to do is say basically there are four basic possible teaching methods: didactic, modeling, managerial, and dialogic. And what you need to realize is that there are several, even within these general categories, there are several other methods embedded within it. So, for instance, in direct instructional models, um, the teacher imparts knowledge and demonstrates the skills. In the indirect instructional models, the teacher sets up the strategies but does not teach directly. The students make meaning for themselves. Uh, so you think about that in any of these terms. In the interactive instructional models, the students interact with each other and with the information material, and the teacher is just the organizer and facilitator. And in my favorite experiential learning models, that means the students experience and feel. They're actively involved. And in another one called the independent study model, the student rather, interacts with the content more and less exclusive of the external control of the teacher. Some theorists prefer to reduce these three general methods. They call them transmissive, transactive, and transformative teaching. Transmissive teaching or direct instruction means that the teacher delivers status quo content via some method such as a lecture or demonstration. Transactive teaching or indirect instruction means that the teacher and the student arrive at a status quo content to be learned through transactions and dialogue. Transformative teaching, or a combination of direct and indirect instruction, means that the teacher and the student reject status quo content and focus on a transformation of themselves and their work. So it's not about the content; it's about themselves. So when you look at these four different methods, and you probably had time to kind of review each one of them, they're you know the general terms, and then I just explained a whole bunch of other terms within it. So let's continue to look at now a system, because in a system it has these components. Now there would be many slides that I could use to basically show this. But I'm using the work of Stephen Petrina, and which basically says that a system involves relationships, conditions, processes, causes, effects, and feedback. And to identify a system, we must demarcate where one system ends and the other begins, as I had mentioned earlier. In education, as an ecosystem, this is done somewhat arbitrarily. For example, if we identify and focus on an instructional system, we necessarily bracket out the learning system. We make some system components visible and leave others invisible. We identify an instructional system at the peril of ignoring other systems or bracketing too narrow. So when we look at this particular, viewpoint of the system, uh, he has particular things in mind. He provides this diagram on how an instructional system moves from thought to instruction. For thought, in other words, a teacher thinking about what it is that they want to do, and then how they're going to be actually delivering. As you can see, content and expectations in terms of objectives begin the process and is dependent on where the students are in terms of their knowledge, skills, and dispositions. Before instructional decisions are made, there has to be an instructional strategy about how the students will be organized, how much time will be allocated to the instructional process or components, the allocation of learning space, and the selection of resources. Anytime you develop a course, you have to keep these points in mind. There would be other ideas of how instruction is organized, But it's my intent not to give you everything. My intent is to show you that a system or instruction does exist, and we're going to focus on how others have structured instructional models so that, like when you take your comprehensive exam or when you work on a curriculum at the school district, you have an idea of how things are going to be working. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at the Jost and Wheels family groupings. And of course, I've asked you all to read these groupings. And so what I'm going to do here is basically give you some general ideas of these groupings. This Joist and Wheels model is very popular as a model. In fact, for a while we were teaching models in a models course or a teaching methods course that some of our instructors would teach, and they use this classification system. But basically, it divided up instructional models into four families: a social interaction family, an information processing family, a personal family, and a behavioral modification family. When we look at each one of these, we're going to look at them right now in general terms, and we're going to look at, for instance, the social interaction family. And in this one, it emphasizes the relationship of the individual to society, or basically to other persons, because other people sometimes have impact on what we learn or what we can learn. And it gives priority to the individual's ability to relate this to others. For instance, partner and group collaboration and role playing is certainly one of those, or the jurisprudential inquiry, which you learned a little bit more from your reading. The next one that we want to look at is the information processing family, and it emphasizes the information processing capability of students. It gives priority to the way students handle stimuli from their environment, how they organize data, how they generate concepts, and how they solve problems. And these include inductive investigation and inquiry, deductive investigation and inquiry, memorization, synectics, design and problem solving, and projects and reports. And any one of those can be, if you want more information, just go back to the reading and get to that. I don't want to go through, make this longer than we have to. Uh, the other group is, or the other family is the personal family, and it emphasizes the development of individuals, their emotional life, and their selfhood. It gives priority to self-awareness, and of course, this family includes ideas like indirect teaching, awareness training and values clarification, role modeling, and self-reflection. Some of these have very specific outlined ways in how to implement it, and more can be discovered from the readings. And the last one here is the behavioral modification family. Um, and in the behavioral modification family, its emphasis is on the development of efficient systems for sequencing learning tasks and shaping behavior. It gives priority to the observable behavior of the students. So, you look at the student and then and observe them, and then you decide what it is that you're going to be doing. Like, for instance, in direct instruction using demonstrations and presentations, you might want to figure out, first of all, some sort of pretest or some diagnostic test to figure out where students are, and then begin that process. and of course in other things dealing with anxiety reduction or program instruction or simulations, depending on what the students are able to comprehend and are ready for. Uh, there are other models that are there, and I would ask you all to maybe do some Google searches and find out a little bit more about the ADDIE model, the Merrill's Principles of Instructional or MIP model, Gagne's Nine Principles of Instruction, which basically, is a very popular one, and then of course the one that we all have been familiar with and has developed over time is Bloom's taxonomy. Uh, One of the things that we need to look at, and I had mentioned earlier, is the idea that there are plenty of instructional models and methods. In their sixth edition, Cruikshank, Boehner, and Metcalf, in a book called The Act of Teaching, describes many instructional models and probably many more than I can cover in this presentation. It's also difficult to choose a starting point, so I've selected those that are not commonly used in the classrooms, which are the ones that I've listed here. These seem to take a little more effort to organize and implement. The first one is the colloquia, in which a guest speaker is invited to share their expertise with the class. This method may be used to introduce a subject, provide more detail, or to stir interest in students about a topic. Another one, controversial issues, is a teacher directed method. The teacher provides activities, discussions, and questions to help clarify an issue where the students apply critical thinking and analysis. This method may be very useful as we enter a more global and technology rich world. Thinking in a global society requires that students develop critical sense and sensitivity to different frames of thought. It asks students to think critically and help develop an oral and ethical response to competing ways of thinking. It just brings to mind the political elections, this that's going on and the political discussions. The teacher must be able to moderate the discussion so that the students think in terms of rationalized ideas rather than perceived notions based on personal and irrational feelings. So, to teach these two methods, colloquia and controversial issues, there are specific steps to kind of keep the teacher from getting into trouble. And I'm just going to go ahead and end this particular slideshow by basically saying, there's there's all kinds of teaching styles. And if you remember, I was talking about from authoritarian to non authoritarian. I'd like you to kind of think about these particular ones. I think the terms themselves give you an idea, but we use it in the classroom. The terms permissive, where you let students come up with the idea and let them work out their lessons or what it is that they want to study and how they want to study. The opposite to that, of course, is being authoritarian, and the teacher pretty much directing that. And I think authoritarian works very well with beginning teachers or with students that are having a difficult time, uh, you developing or that have developed good critical thinking skills. It keeps everything in order. And then a democratic, I think the democratic is one that works very, very well in certain types of situations, especially when teachers and students have a lot of ideas that they want to work on, but you want to choose one that keeps you going, that is of interest to both the students and the teacher, and basically the teacher allows students um, to make decisions about what it is that they want to study. So basically, you got to fit these methods. You got to consider using a variety of methods because different situations, both of the student and the classroom, and of course, I'm going to go even further to that and say even the administration or the rulings of policy and so on are going to dictate what you're going to do. And you have to realize that each method has positive and negative effects on instruction and students. And in one of the chapters, or a little bit later on, we're going to be talking about creativity. We have times when we want to develop creativity, and then what we have times where we want students to basically learn how to get certain types of skills and develop that ability to demonstrate and to uh, learn those particular skills. Regardless of all of them, whenever you find something, start with it and learn it well. But don't let it. Once you try one, don't let it just go by the wayside. Practice all of those skills often, and later on, for you all as mentors, you would want to be able to help people use a variety of methods. And the more often that you use it, the better you'll be to be able to do a little more mentoring. So this is our PowerPoint on the instructional models classification system. And I hope that you all will have good discussions on this, and then eventually you're going to uh, uh, choose a scenario in which you're going to be taking a particular model and doing that. That'll come in this particular week. So look at all the possibilities, do your readings, refer to this video, and complete your assignments. Okay, good luck, and we'll catch you later.